The sky above the planet had two suns. The light was soft and golden. Birds with four wings flew through the air. Tall trees with glowing leaves stood like giants. Everything looked magical to the young human boy named Ethan. He had never seen anything like it. Ethan's family had crash-landed on this alien world 3 days ago. They were part of a cargo mission going to a nearby colony, but something went wrong. The ship had lost power and fallen from the sky. Luckily, his parents were alive and busy fixing the ship. But the place where they crashed was far from any human city. It was unknown space. While his parents worked, Ethan explored the forest near the crash site. He was only 8 years old, full of curiosity and energy. He didn't feel scared. The forest was quiet and calm. One day, deep inside the trees, he saw her. She was standing near a crystal-clear stream. Her skin had a soft green-blue glow, and her long white hair flowed like water. She wore a dress made from silk-like vines and flowers. Her big eyes watched him with surprise, but not fear. Ethan froze, holding a broken stick like a sword. The alien girl tilted her head and gave a small smile. She said something in her language. He didn't understand, but her tone was gentle. "Hi," he said slowly, pointing to himself. "I'm Ethan. I'm human." She pointed to herself and said her name. It sounded like Lania. She touched her chest gently and said it again. Ethan tried repeating it. She laughed a soft, musical sound. Even though they didn't speak the same language, they found ways to understand each other. Every day, Ethan returned to the forest. They would meet by the stream, talk using signs, draw in the dirt, and share fruits and simple things. He gave her a chocolate bar once, and she made a flower crown for him. They laughed, played, and sat in silence sometimes, just looking at the sky. Lina was older than Ethan, maybe around 13, but she didn't treat him like a baby. She listened to him carefully, watched his stories with big eyes, and gently corrected him when he said her name wrong. She liked how humans told stories and asked a lot of questions. Ethan liked how she could mimic birds and make glowing fish follow her hands. One afternoon, Ethan brought a small toy with him. It was a plastic ring from a candy box. It was red and shiny, and he used to pretend it had powers. But today, he wanted to give it to her. He held it out and said, "This is for you. When I grow up, I'll come back, and I'll marry you." Lena blinked. She looked at the ring, then at him. She didn't fully understand his words, but she saw his eyes full. Avaniston felt something true in his voice. Slowly, she took the ring and placed it on her finger, even though it was too big. She smiled and touched his forehead gently. Then she whispered something in her language, and even though Ethan didn't understand, it made his heart feel warm. That evening, his parents called him back urgently. The rescue signal had worked. A ship was coming to pick them up. He looked toward the forest one last time, but couldn't see her. He left a small wooden box by the stream. Inside was a simple drawing of them together, with stars above and hearts around. He hoped she would find it. When the rescue ship arrived, Ethan looked out the window as they flew away. For a moment, he thought he saw a glowing figure standing. At the forest edge, waving, Lina stood there quietly, holding the ring close to her chest. Years passed like the wind, quiet, but steady. Ethan was no longer a little boy. He was now 15, taller, with sharper eyes and a mind full of dreams. But even with all the changes around him, one thing had stayed the same. He still remembered Lena. No one really believed him. When he told his friends about the alien girl he met as a child, they laughed. Even his teachers thought it was just his imagination. "You were young," they'd say. "You'd probably dreamed it." But Ethan knew the truth. He could still see her eyes, hear her soft laugh, and remember the exact way the ring looked on her finger. Every night, before sleeping, he would stare at the stars outside his window. He didn't know the name of her planet. The system was never recorded in official files. The crash had happened in deep space, and they were rescued too quickly to scan the area again. But Ethan remembered the sky. He remembered the two suns and the glowing trees. He kept drawing it over and over, filling notebooks with sketches. He had also kept the wooden box she left untouched. Inside, A small flower from her crown was dried and pressed between papers. He never told anyone, but sometimes when he missed her most, he'd open the box and whisper, "I'm coming back." He worked hard in school. While others played games or wasted time, Ethan studied languages, especially alien ones. He learned how to fly ships in training sims. He trained his body too, learning survival skills, first aid, and basic mechanics. People thought he was strange. Didn't know why a teenager would care so much about strange languages and forgotten star charts. But Ethan had a goal. When he turned 18, he applied to a special academy. It was known for producing top pilots, diplomats, and explorers. Many didn't get in, but Ethan did. His tests were strong, and his passion stood out. The instructors saw something in him, something quiet but powerful. While at the academy, he kept searching for any data about the place where they crashed. Nothing showed up. It was like the world had vanished. No known maps matched the location. No old cargo records helped. It was a ghost, but Ethan didn't give up. One day, while exploring a broken star chart from an old freighter's logs, he saw a strange system, marked, unnamed, but with 2 suns. His heart raced. The coordinates were rough but close. It was deep in unclaimed space, far from any human or alien trade route. Forgotten, his hands shook as he copied the data. "I found it," he whispered. After graduating, Ethan didn't join the military or a company. Instead, he began building a small ship with the help of his late grandfather's old friends, retired mechanics, pilots, and explorers. They liked Ethan. He reminded them of the old days when adventure meant something. They helped him in secret, building a sleek, fast, and quiet scout ship, perfect for long journeys and for sneaking past alien borders. It took 2 years, but finally it was done. He named it Hope. He looked at himself in the mirror before leaving, taller now, strong, wearing a dark flight suit. He took the same plastic ring he once gave her and placed it in a new velvet box. He smiled. "I made a promise." Then he climbed into the ship, entered the coordinates, and took off into space. Far away on the alien world, Lena stood under the same tree by the stream. She had changed too. No longer a young girl, she had grown into a graceful young woman. Her hair was longer now, often braided with small gems. Her people still lived in the forest village, but many things had changed. There was tension now. The world was no longer at peace. Other alien tribes had started fighting among themselves. Power, land, and old anger made things worse. Humans were blamed for past events, even ones they had no part in. Many feared the return of humans, thinking they would bring danger. Lena still believed differently. She never told anyone about the human boy she met. Not fully. When others joked about human tales, she stayed quiet. Only in private did she open a small box hidden in her room. Inside was a folded drawing, too, figures under stars, and a red ring too big for her finger. She would hold it and whisper, "Did you forget me, little one?" Even though she laughed when he promised to return, part of her heart still waited. Each time the wind moved through the trees or light hit the river just right, she thought of him. She had become a healer, helping her people, caring for the weak and injured. She had a kind heart, but sadness often sat in her eyes. She didn't know that somewhere across the stars, the boy was coming back, and this time he carried more than just a toy ring. Ethan's ship moved through space like a shadow, quiet and steady. The stars around him were silent. His eyes stayed on the blinking lights of the navigation system. Ahead was the system with 2 suns, the same one he saw in his childhood. His heart beat fast. His hands were calm, but inside he was full of emotion. He had waited so long for this. He didn't know what he would find. Maybe she wasn't there anymore. Maybe the world had changed. But the promise he made years ago still lived inside him. He'd come to find Lene. As he neared the system, he noticed something strange. There were no ships, no patrols, no space, stations, only silence. But the closer he got to the planet, the more signals his ship picked up, blocked radio waves, broken messages, and warning beacons. Words repeated in different alien languages: "Do not approach," "restricted space." War. Zone, danger. Ethan didn't stop. Turned off his main beacon and flew low, just above the clouds, using terrain to hide. The forests still looked beautiful from above, but many areas were burned. Small villages were empty. Smoke rose from distant hills. It was not the peaceful world he remembered. He landed far from the old crash site near the forest where he once played. The trees were still there, but many were cut or damaged. He stepped out of the ship quietly, wearing a dark cloak. He held a small bag over his shoulder. Inside it was food, medical gear, and one small box with the ring. Ethan walked. For hours, passing broken paths and dry rivers, he saw signs of battle-burned walls, old weapons, empty huts. But he didn't stop. He followed the way his younger self had once walked. His memory was strong. Finally, near evening, he reached the stream. The water still flowed, but slower. The flowers were fewer. And the tree where he and Laina used to sit had been struck by something. It leaned, half burnt, but still standing. He stood there for a long time, unsure what to do. Then he heard movement, soft footsteps, careful and fast. Someone was coming. Ethan stepped behind a rock and waited. A moment later, a figure appeared at the edge of the stream. It was a woman with long white hair tied back, wearing simple robes and carrying a small pouch. She bent down by the water, checking something. Then she paused. Her head turned slowly. Sensing something, Ethan stepped out into the fading light. She stood up fast, eyes wide, body tense. She didn't speak. He didn't speak either. Then gently he took off his hood. Their eyes met for a few seconds. There was only silence. The wind moved the grass. The stream bubbled softly. Then she whispered, almost not believing it, Ethan. He smiled. You remembered. Walked forward slowly, step by step. He didn't move. When she was close enough, her hand reached up and touched his face, like she had done when they were children. You came back, she said softly. He nodded. I promised. Laina blinked hard.
Ouch.
You grew up? You did too? She laughed. Once, quietly. It was the same soft laugh he had remembered all these years. Suddenly, her smile faded. She looked around with worry. You can't stay here. It's not safe. There are patrols. They hunt strangers. I came to find you, he said. I'll leave if you ask me, but first let me talk to you just once. She looked torn. Finally, she took his hand. Follow me quickly. She led him deep into the forest. They walked in silence, moving carefully. After a while, they reached a hidden shelter, a small wooden hut built inside a rocky hill. It was quiet and warm inside. I made this place for healing, she said, lighting a soft lamp. When the war started, many were hurt. I helped who I could. Ethan looked around. Herbs, tools, and simple beds filled the space. It was her. Space, you're a healer now, he said. Yes, she replied. And you? A pilot. He smiled. But only for one mission, this one. She looked at him, eyes soft. You came back. For me, I never forgot you, he said. Not even one day. She sat down, still holding his hand gently. Many left. Others were taken. People changed. I didn't think you would remember. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small velvet box. Slowly, he opened it. Inside was the real ring. Laina stared at it. I told you I would come back. When I grew up, he said, I meant every word. She said nothing for a long time. Her fingers touched the ring carefully. She smiled, but her eyes were wet. You were just a boy. I'm not anymore, he said, but I'm still the same inside. She closed the box and held it close. I don't know what the future holds, she whispered.
Ow.
But tonight, I'm glad you came. They sat there, two hearts from different worlds, safe in a small room hidden from war. The night outside was dark, but in that quiet space it felt like stars were shining again. The next morning, the forest was quiet. A soft fog covered the ground. Inside the small hut, Laina woke before the sun rose. She turned her head and saw Ethan sitting near the small fire, awake, holding the plastic ring she had once kept hidden. For years, I was staring at it like it was a treasure. You still have that? She whispered. He turned and smiled. You kept it safe. That means everything. Lena stood slowly and came closer. I looked at it every time I missed you. I didn't know if you'd ever come back, but I hoped. Ethan nodded. I wanted to come sooner. I just didn't know how. But I never gave up. They sat together near the fire. For a long time they talked. Ethan told her about Earth, about training, and about the hard work it took to build his ship. He told her how others didn't believe him, but he believed in his memory of her. Lena listened closely, her hand on his as he spoke. Then she spoke too. About how her village changed after the war started, how some of her people blamed outsiders for bringing chaos, how she stayed quiet about him, even when others shared fear and anger. She'd become a healer to help those hurt by battle. But her heart never forgot the boy who once promised to marry her. Outside, the day grew warmer. The sun broke through the fog. The village is still nearby? Ethan asked. Lanad nodded. Yes, but not the same. Some elders are strict now. They don't trust humans. If they find me, will they? They'll try to send you away. Maybe worse, she said, eyes low. But I'll protect you. Ethan shook his head gently. I don't want to hide forever. I want them to see who I am. I want to help. Lena looked at him, unsure. I know your people are suffering, Ethan said. I brought supplies, food, medicine, power cells. Not much, but enough to help a little. Lena touched his hand. He always cared, even as a child. They walked together to the stream later that day. The place still held memories. Ethan helped her gather herbs and carry water. A young creature with soft fur approached, and he fed it from his hand. Lena smiled as she watched. Each day after that, Ethan helped more. He fixed a broken water pump near the edge of the forest. He repaired an old energy lamp for the healing hut. He gave food packs to those who had little. He never asked for anything in return. Soon whispers spread in the village. A human is here. Healer brought him. He is not like thee. Others, some wanted him gone. Others were curious. But no one saw him. Clearly, he always stayed near the forest, working quietly with Lena. He didn't argue, didn't fight. He just helped. One night a young boy from the village was brought to the hut with a deep wound on his leg. He had fallen near old battle metal. The wound was bad. Lena worked fast, but she needed more light and stronger tools. Ethan stepped forward and used a laser cutter from his bag to remove the sharp metal, then helped her clean and seal the wound. The boy didn't cry. He looked at Ethan with wide eyes. You're human? He asked. Ethan smiled. Yes, you're not scary. Try not to be. Word spread fast. The boy's parents came the next day and bowed their heads in thanks. Then an elder visited, then a group of silent watchers. No one spoke much, but slowly the walls began to lower. Lena walked with Ethan back to the stream. That night, the sky was full of stars. They're starting to trust you, she said. I don't want to force anything, he replied. I just want to stay, if it's allowed. She turned toward him, her eyes calm. You already stayed. In my heart for years. You're part of this place, even if they don't know it yet. He took a deep breath. Do you still have the ring? She pulled it from a small pouch and held it out. Ethan took her hand and gently placed the real ring next to the plastic one. This time, it's real, he said. I meant what I said when I was 8. I still mean it now. Lena's eyes filled with soft tears. She nodded slowly. Yes, she whispered. They stood under the stars, hands joined, hearts steady. The world around them was still wounded, still healing. But in that small place near the stream, something strong was. Growing, trust, love, and hope. And it had started with a promise from a little boy who never forgot. The next morning, the village woke to tension in the air. One of the hunters had spotted Ethan from a distance while he helped fix a broken energy line near the river. Word spread quickly. Some called it a threat. Others remembered what he did. For the wounded child, still, the idea of a human living quietly among them made many uneasy. Lena stood before the village council that same day. 5 elders sat under the stone roof of the old meeting house. Their faces were calm but sharp. These elders had lived through the beginning of the war. They remembered the fear, the pain, and the losses. They were not quick to forgive or forget. "You have broken the rule," one elder said. "No human is allowed in our space." Lena raised her head. "He came not to fight. He came to fulfill a promise. And since he arrived, he has only helped. You have all seen it." Another elder shook his head. "Humans brought war to our door once. Their politics, their power. We lost many. And now you hide one in our forest." "He saved a child's life," Lena said, voice steady. "He repaired your tools. He gave you supplies. And not once did he ask for praise." "What does he want then?" an older woman asked. "He wants to stay," Lena said. "He wants peace. And," she paused, "he wants to marry me." A silence filled the room. Sharp, heavy, marry. One of the elders repeated as if the word itself was impossible. "Yes," Lena said. "When he was a child, he made a promise. He returned to keep it." One elder leaned forward. "Are not against love, but timing matters. This is a time of danger, of rebuilding, not of mixing bloodlines with those from warlike worlds. You judge him based on where he comes from," Lena said softly, "not who he is." The council asked for time to think. Lena left the room with her hand shaking but her heart firm. Outside, a crowd had gathered. Some watched her with quiet support. Others looked with doubt. Ethan stood by the edge of the square waiting. When she walked toward him, she saw guards behind him. They had found him. He did not run. A guard stepped forward. "You will come with us." Lena stood between them. "If you take him, you take me too." The guard looked uncertain. This wasn't expected. Others began whispering. People who had once stayed silent were now stepping forward. "He helped my child," one mother said. "He didn't have to." "He gave us power for our machines," said another. "He fixed the water line," said a young man. One by one, voices rose, not loud, but strong. Not angry, but honest. The guards hesitated and turned and walked away. Lena turned to Ethan, her eyes full of quiet strength. "They're listening." The next day, the council met again. This time, the space was open to the public. Villagers came and stood around the stone meeting house. The air was thick with tension. "We have made our decision," the head elder said. "The human will be given a chance. Not as a member, not as a partner, yet, but as a guest. He may live among us for now. His actions will decide his place." Here, Ethan stepped forward. "Thank you," he said. "I don't want to replace anyone's ways. I just want to live in peace, and to prove that I came with love, not pride." The elder nodded once, then prove it. Over the next weeks, Ethan worked harder than ever. He helped rebuild a broken well, taught young learners about human technology in a simple way, and even worked in the fields beside Lena and others. He never spoke about the war. He never brought politics. He stayed kind and careful. Some still avoided him, but many began to smile when they saw him. The children started calling him Star Boy. He didn't mind. One evening, as the sun set, and soft music played from flutes made of stone, the village celebrated the end of the harvest. Lanterns floated in the air, lighting the sky. Ethan walked with Lena through the crowd. Villagers nodded to him. A few offered fruit or bread. It felt like a dream. They reached the tree by the stream, burnt but still alive. Soft lights hung from its branches. Ethan turned to her and opened the velvet box again. This time, no fear, no hiding. "Will you marry me? Right here? Under your stars?" Lena took a deep breath. Her people were nearby. They could see, but none stepped forward to stop them. She smiled. Yes. The stars above shimmered. A promise made in childhood was now becoming real. A week passed after Lena said yes. In that time, the whole village changed. The people who once feared Ethan now greeted him with small smiles. The children ran to him with questions. The elders, though still cautious, watched him with softer eyes. When word spread that Ethan and Linnea would marry, no one stopped them. No one shouted. Instead, the villagers began to help in quiet ways. One elder gave Linnea a gift-tan old piece of white cloth woven from silver forest threads. It was rare and soft, meant for sacred events. Linnea thanked the elder with a deep bow. A group of children brought flowers to decorate the tree by the stream. They laughed and played, tying small glowing buds onto the branches. Some made rings of leaves and petals. They said it would bring peace to both hearts and the land. Ethan stood nearby, watching them. Couldn't believe this was really happening. For so long he had dreamed of coming back. Now he was standing in the place where it all began, preparing for a new beginning. He looked down at the box in his hand, the real ring, shining gently in the fading sunlight. Beside it, tied to a simple string, was the old plastic ring. He carried both, never letting them go. On the evening of the wedding, the sky was clear. The two suns had just set, leaving a golden glow behind. Above, the stars slowly appeared. The forest was quiet. Small lamps, made of glowing crystals, were placed around the stream. Lighting the area with soft light, the tree, where they once met, stood tall. It's decorated with flowers, lights, and symbols of both human and alien design. It was not just a tree anymore. It was their memory, their story, their home. Linnea stepped forward first, wearing the silver thread dress. Her hair was tied back, decorated with white and blue petals. Her hands held a small stone, a gift passed down from her mother, used only in sacred moments. Ethan followed, dressed in simple black clothes, with a sash made of forest leaves wrapped across his chest. In one hand he carried the small ring box. In the other he held nothing but calm. The villagers gathered in silence. No priest spoke, no music played. Instead, Linnea and Ethan stood face to face beneath the tree. They looked into each other's eyes, not needing any translation. "When I was a child," Ethan began, "I didn't understand love. I just knew I wanted to see you again, that you made me feel safe, that I wanted to grow up and come back." Linnea smiled gently. "I first met you, I thought you were only passing by, but you left a mark that never faded. I waited, not with hope, but with memory. And now, here you are." Ethan opened the box. He gently placed the real ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. Then Linnea pulled out a thin necklace from her pouch. Tied to it was the old red plastic ring. She lifted it and placed it around Ethan's neck. "You gave this to me when you were small," she whispered. "It stayed with me through all my years. Now I give it back to you, not as a toy, but as a symbol." They took each other's hands. The villagers began to clap, softly. Some cried. Even the elders smiled. There was no grand feast, no loud music, just warm food, shared stories, and soft laughter by the fire. Some danced slowly near the river. Others sat in quiet groups watching the stars. Ethan and Linnea sat under the tree, side by side, hands still linked. "I was always afraid that maybe you forgot me," Linnea said. "Never," Ethan replied. "Even if the world forgot this place, I wouldn't, not you." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "What will you do now? Will you stay, if they let me?" he said. "I want to help, learn, be part of your world. And if they ask you to go," he paused, "then I'll come back again, even if it takes me years." "You're home now," Linnea smiled, closing her eyes. Above them, the stars shined brighter than ever. The plastic ring on Ethan's chest caught the light and sparkled like a tiny sun, and so, under alien skies, two souls from different worlds became one, not through force, not through war, but through a promise made in childhood and kept with love. The stream flowed, the flowers glowed, and peace, even if small, bloomed again in a corner of the galaxy.